look at this large, very present front grille. I've seen one of these here lately in Spain. I was wondering, like, what kind of brand is it actually? It looks like a smaller Range Rover. So if you ever thought about, hey, I like the Range Rover design but don't want to spend too much money on it, this might be something. And also, is this one here a true competitor to the existing established car brands in this segment, like a Nissan Qashqai, a Toyota Corolla Cross, even a VW Tiguan, but at a lower price, here at about 4.50 meters then in the length? We're going to find out here with the Jaecoo 7 or J7, depending on the market, a compact SUV that comes here as a plug-in hybrid and basically with just one option, then full spec, starting 30,000 pounds as a plug-in hybrid, 35,000 pounds, 37,000 euros, and if you go for that one option, 40,000 euros, but then it's like really fully packed. But what do you get for this kind of money and how does it drive? We're going to find out here with Thomas Autogefühl in 4K, full screen, full length. Let's go with the Jaecoo 7. Yeah, this grille is really like caught my attention also because I was thinking, wait a minute, is this some kind of like Range Rover, like off-road vehicle and so on? It's also a nice moonlight silver color here for you today. And what does the brand name mean? JHE stands for Jäger. You would actually write with an umlaut with the German Jäger, and that is German for hunter. And Ku comes from cool, which stands in English for cool. So it's the Cool Hunter. That's the brand name. Interesting idea, definitely. Yeah, that's the meaning behind it. And they are actually already quite popular, especially in some southern European countries where people just want more affordable vehicles. And here we are at a length of 4.50 meters or 177 inches. And there are a lot of very strong competitors here in this compact SUV segment, just that they here really attack with the price and even offer plug-in hybrid. Here, 19-inch wheels also included, these large wheels, even with these aerodynamic inserts right there. The door handles fold in and out, flush integration, soon more to that. And you have this very upright off-road style design. This is here for the petrol fuel cap, other side will be the EV. Then in the rear you have an interesting design also from the lights, and when you hit the turning indicators you have almost like a yellow checkered flag design, so to speak, PHEV, then here this indication. And I think the design works very well because it doesn't scream out new brand, totally new vehicle. It really plays with existing design, which is also liked, and yeah, as I said, goes in this Range Rover design direction, just that it's a little bit smaller. And here on the other side, as I said, we have then the EV charging cap basically for the plug-in hybrid, and it has on the one hand only 6.6 kilowatt AC charging, but it also, that is unusual, offers 40 kilowatt DC charging here for the plug-in hybrid. Not all plug-in hybrids have that, and the battery here is at 18.3 kilowatt hours. So considering for a compact plug-in hybrid, it's actually not too small. It's also an LFP battery from the chemistry, and there's still an engine under the hood here, by the way. See the door handles, they still mechanically can be moved then when you really grab them. And then let's see, so in some countries they also offer a 1.6 liter pure petrol engine. Here in Germany, for example, they only offer the plug-in hybrid, and that is a 1.5 liter four-cylinder PHEV, and then 280 horsepower and 8.5 seconds in the acceleration figure if you have still enough battery left. And how does it work? So usually this really drives all electric here with front-wheel drive, and then you have two electric motors, one in the front and another one serves as a generator, and then the combustion engine is just generating some power for the vehicle and you still drive electric. However, there are also different other situations where the petrol engine can also drive the wheels, and also they can combine it. For example, like in full acceleration, both the petrol engine and the electric motor, they work at the same time to the wheels. So different modes are possible here. You know, there are different plug-in hybrid concepts out there. Probably damped here underneath, by the way. So looking forward to that, how it is driving, because yeah, from the exterior, it does promise a lot, but can it hold actually also what it promises? And even more interesting will now be the interior. And now it's time for the interior, and the first thing comes to our mind are the seats, and they look indeed premium. And this is a high-grade leather red material, so animal-free. And also here, it's really soft in the sit bone area. And this is really premium, I like. So this is astonishing. And it's good seating comfort here. 189, 602. Also headroom left, large glass roof, soon going to open that. And there's even like a hidden gentleman's function here for the passenger seat. Or if you want to maybe use it here for rear chauffeuring, then you can move the seat here way forward, just like from here, and then you have a lot of space in the rear, for example. And this will be continued throughout the vehicle, that it basically has all the options ticked. So there's one package optional, which includes the panoramic roof, rear tinted windows, and the Sony sound system, which sounds okay, not the biggest stuff in the world, but it will be better than the base system. So just one package with some extras and so on, but that's then it. And then this car is here at 40,000 euros and it's fully spec. And you have, I'm not sure if there are any other options that you know from other vehicles. This one here has not only seat heating, but even seat cooling as well. Let me go back to here, climate menu. And then here, instead of the doors, top part is soft touch, ambient light integration. Look at that here. We have this real screw design, maybe know from like Jeep Wrangler or something. This gives good off-road vibes. And the cockpit overview here, steering wheel is also an animal-free material. You do have these capacitive BS buttons here. It's one button, and then, but at least it does give you some clicking feedback. Left side then is to change something in these digital instruments right there. I have set everything to the dark mode, by the way. Dark mode looks a little bit more sophisticated than if the displays would be brighter. Steering wheel in and out, up and down, good position. Right side to put in the gears and so on, easy. Then you also have a head-up display, which you can very well see. Not on camera, that's not that easy. And here this huge display, 15-inch vertical layout here. And you have this main menu like this. You have the vehicle selections, you know, this what you know from new electric vehicles, also like Tesla-alike style and so on. Climate unit is in the lower part, clicking here or also swiping there. You know, I always would prefer the physical dials. But most things you can actually relatively easy find then, at least in the infotainment system. And as I said, it is really very large. This is here the Apple CarPlay Android Auto integration. Wow. This is huge. So rarely have seen this integration that large. Then here, this, by the way, also soft touch, this structured surface, and also the top part here is a little bit softer. Glove box falls down slowly. Then here, integration of the inductive charging pads, also cooled. Then you have the cup holders, which are also adaptive, 2-dot design, and then some hotkeys here that you, for example, prefer the HEV or the EV mode. Armrest is also a little bit soft here, then with the split opening, and this is even cooled. The German Parkscheibe, yes, not to forget that when parking here in Germany. So, and this is really the thing about this interior, that you can hardly find anything to criticize from the build quality. You know, and this has been the thing here of the Chinese manufacturers. Here, Jaecoo is a brand of Chery motors that they, you know, with offering the vehicle at a very low price because labor and energy costs are way lower in China, and then they have this good build quality here, and the established manufacturers have, of course, to fight against this in some way. In a way, you can also say that you can profit from that as a customers, because it puts pressure on the established manufacturers, and they also have to, for example, improve their interior build quality again then. This is also equipped with a panoramic roof in this one optional package, and it goes across the vehicle, and you can actually still open it. Shall we try and leave some rain in? So just to show you, I will just quickly open it. So it goes across the vehicle, and the opening is also, there we go, actually quite wide. Wow, that is a huge opening. And here in the lower front, there are also the USB-C and USB-A chargers. And some more space. One more thing here in the front, you even have the laminated windows, so that's astonishing. The only thing I can say negative is that the new car smell here at this moment is not that pleasant. Rear seats, well, the build quality, I mean here, even the rear seats have soft touch on the top, then ambient lighting integration, and also here, this is a nice structure, for example. Then once again, this real screw off-road styling here and here, hardback lower part, and here the optional Sony sound system. And also good and soft quality of the leatherette here in the sit bone area in the rear. So yeah, that's really the thing. And also in the top part, it's really throughout the vehicle a good build quality, and at that price that is astonishing. And then here, folding that down, you have these rubber lips here, for example, for the armrest, and there is good and decent seating comfort. You also don't sit too high. They sit relatively low, but that also again makes the angle of the knees a little bit strange because you sit so low. But here the headroom, 189 6x2, no problem. And you can see here this panoramic roof really continues all the way till the back. Trunk or boot at 340 liters. Let's see what we get. Electric hatch, of course, everything is included. And then here, this is the cover. It also has rails left and right. This is very close in here to the cabin trolley, so not too high there. The width here between the wheel arches, a little bit less than 1.40 meters, wider than there. And here the height is actually not too much, 28 inches, 70 centimeters. And then the normal length is here at 85 centimeters, 33 inches. Underneath you have, let's say like a good organizer here. So why not to store the cables and so on. This one, of course, you can remove. And here there's also this cargo position, or that you can adjust the angle of the back seat, and that you can also fold directly from here. And then we have a total length of, let's see, 1.65 or 65 inches. That's easy to remember. So it's not the largest one, not too high, but overall for most use cases, I think it's okay. What do you think? Now let's start driving. Oh, it's interesting animation here also for parking. Why not? And the big question is, of course, like, is there a catch considering, oh, doggo, is there a catch considering what they offer for that price? And there are some catches. The one thing I said is like the smell that is not that pleasant. Another thing I directly mentioned now, so if I just release the brake and let the car creep forward, it's not a very smooth process, how you have the feet on the brake pedal and then on the throttle pedal, for example. Thanks, I have my personal assistant to deactivate the speed chime thing. Oh, the pure EV driving sound is pretty loud actually also here on the interior. And what I also noticed here when starting to drive, that as a tall person, I noticed that in the BYD Touring, C6 Touring, here I have hardly space for my left foot. My feet are a bit narrow here. My feet are too large on the left side, like where my feet stand on the left, and then here for the knees is also narrow. I mean, at least this top part here is somewhat soft, but still narrow for the knees there. And of course, the like all the warnings, assistance system, and so on, you tend to wish that you rather deactivate all. You can actually do it quite easily, but that's also a thing with the Chinese vehicles very often, that on the Chinese market is actually required to have like a lot of systems like on and beep this, but beep this. And when you then apply to European or American customers, they rather want to be left in peace a little bit more. You know what I mean? So, and then here, interesting. Okay, now, I have right of way in this case then here. So, and we also go to the German Autobahn, for example. Also test about like what this insulation here in the side mirror, side window does deliver for us, for example, like that. And it's a little bit rainy, obviously, as you saw earlier. So this is always good testing for the noise level of this vehicle. It looks really bulky and off-road from the outside, but when you sit on it here on the inside, it feels like a small car actually. Maybe because the front hood is pretty low, and also here the line of the window right here, the shoulder line is relatively low, and also how you sit in the car. I sometimes have the feeling I even would put the seat a little bit higher, because you sit relatively low in the vehicle and the feet are also relatively high, although it's not a pure electric vehicle. That's maybe something. So for tall adults, the seating the seats itself, they're good, but the seating position in the vehicle, in the chassis, is maybe not the most ideal then for tall drivers. Steering is very, very light. You don't have much feeling for it. But here already in a traffic situation, this is good that we are in the all-electric mode, because then there's no local emission and we're not wasting any energy. And here then, of course, especially when you're in city, this is interesting visualization here, definitely for the radio.
Another mode, a sport mode or something like that.
Driving. I mean, here we have driving modes here.
So
here we have
the steering wheel. Maybe it's different.
Yeah, I mean, on the one hand we have EV and HEV mode. So, but in this case it's electric anyway. But then here the driving modes. It's also nice visualization: normal, sport, and eco. And I saw earlier in the infotainment system that you can have an option activated that the steering feel is linked to the driving modes. But you can also, this is what I mean here, like when I just want to slightly go off the brake.
The whole vehicle is like
yeah, it's starting to shake a little bit. So here now, let's see, sport mode, and then, yeah, there for example, steering feedback is a little bit stiffer. So to me, it's a little bit more like it, but in both cases, you have to steer a lot. That is actually the case. Comes close to this off-road character of this vehicle, actually. And then suspension here with these 19-inch wheels. Yeah, I mean, off-road vehicle, you would expect that it has a soft suspension, but it doesn't. So it's rather rough, and there are also some booming noises, actually, when you're running over some transverse bumps and so on. So this is also maybe a thing where you then feel or experience the price, because most obviously they cannot deliver the same thing that maybe like a car delivers at a double the price. But I mean, from the interior, like details and so on, they do. But not in all respects here while driving. This is already becoming clear after a few kilometers. But then the question is, of course, how much you care. And it's, for example, a similar thing with when you, for example, order a Dacia Duster. Then you do get a little bit less for the price, because you also pay less for it. But if you don't care what you lose, then it might be the suitable thing for you. And if you say, like, for example, I don't care about how the car behaves in corners and so on, then, what the hell? So you just pay less of a price. So it's always the question of what do you really want and what you need. It's like a evil speed camera there. I think it's from the back side on the other side, right? Oh, back and front side, it seems, right? Yeah, we can, by the way, are we in the normal mode again? Yeah. Oh, it's interesting, like when you're in a normal mode and just keep the throttle like it is and then jump to the sport mode, the vehicle directly jumps forward. That shouldn't happen, actually, because why does it do that? Because the throttle is then more sensitive, but in a way it shouldn't do that directly when you jump to the sport mode anyway, so at least when you keep it then in the same position. So here, it always looks nice, right, when the raindrops are on the front hood there. Yeah, here you see what I mean. I mean, even for me, it's really like the throttle and this is so sensitive. I mean, I'm used to drive so many different vehicles, but bless you, Leah already gets a cold from this here. Now, it's really the thing that you have to be, traffic announcement, you have to be very, very gentle, both with the throttle and with the brake pedal, especially then when you think about the passengers, So that's definitely something to consider there. Here, by the way, I mean, it does have some reaction, but it just feels, super light. I haven't found an option where you can actually interchange it, that you have like an individual mode, that you have here the sport mode, resistance, but at the same time you don't put the throttle input in sport mode. So haven't found this one. If you know this about that car, then feel free to comment it, but it doesn't seem to be possible here, and also not in the infotainment system. So I think now it's more important than how does it behave on the German Autobahn. And now we go to the German Autobahn and also switch to the sport mode. Let's see about the acceleration and high speed. So we start from 50 kilometers an hour and let's go. 100. 130. So you meanwhile also heard the combustion engine hopping on, and acceleration was actually quite fine, let's take it that way. Here 130 kilometers an hour, 80 miles an hour, going down now 120 kilometers an hour, 70 miles an hour. It's not too loud. Here the insulation does a quite good job. Leah says from the top. Yeah, maybe if you close then the glass roof, for example, that can help. So that's maybe a good idea. But I don't have much feeling for the steering, gotta say. So that's the thing. So going straight is actually fine. That's okay. But as soon as you go into the corners, we'll soon also go to another corner right there. Also go back to the normal or eco driving mode here. It's actually good that I can press it here. So not too much feeling for the steering, and you can also, when you go left, right, yeah, it's not too nice for Leah then, directly feel that. Yeah, and especially like when you're in the corner and the steering wheel gets to a certain angle, then it's even more loose, so to speak. Let's see what I mean. Like here now I have there's no feeling for the car at all. What happens actually there? So it's not ideal. When the road is all even, then the 19-inch wheels and the suspension is also fine. But yeah, here Leah is also starting to hold tight. So you don't feel one with the vehicle. That's maybe the thing to criticize.
Maybe this one?
This one here, it's better here. Yeah. So yeah, switching between the motorways is always a lot of fun, definitely. But here, I would say it's not the most fun vehicle to drive sporty, and that's also not the focus of this vehicle, but still good to find out. And it's also a problem again with tuning the brake pedal and the throttle pedal, because again you have to be super sensitive with that. Now here, lane change, 60 kilometers an hour. I mean, it doesn't shake up too much, that's not the thing, but somehow you don't get the best feeling for the vehicle, and Leah also doesn't look that happy, honestly. So, I mean, but yeah, that's actually, I'm not that surprised, because I was thinking wow, I mean, from the exterior and interior, all the time, pretty cool things. Yeah, but then that's often where it gets getting more critical, right? Like how does the car drive? That's really the thing. We do have a blind spot monitor in here, by the way. That should approach right now. There we go. I mean, it's also a little bit rainy outside today, and considering for that, from the side, the insulation helps really. The noise level is not too loud, and yeah, on the top, as Leah said, probably is a good idea then to just close the roof there. But the thing you definitely don't get is a feeling for the car, or that sporty. Also here, when we have some transverse bumps in the road, it gets kind of rough. So I would say it's not the best motorway vehicle for long term. But it was also not expected. And then again, the question is, do you care about that or not? Or do you rather care about the price and that the car just looks cool on the exterior and great on the interior? And then of course the thing always, maybe it's just the ideal setup here for tall people with the knees and so on. But if you're not as tall as me, maybe also you don't care about it. So I would say from exterior and interior, you get more than expected. From driving, a little bit less than expected. And the consumption of this plug-in hybrid, well, tough to say, because here it's only mixing the figures all the time. And the more we drive electric here, you see here, electric consumption goes up and petrol goes down. So is the Jaecoo a Jägermeister, a master hunter? It depends. From the exterior, pretty cool. Indeed, a small Range Rover, visual-wise. On the interior, also nice quality materials, a lot of features for relatively low money, including the plug-in hybrid battery and so on. But then when it comes to driving, there it shows that you also don't get everything for that price. So it doesn't drive in a very spectacular way. It's not most ideal for when you're really tall, how you have the position in the vehicle and so on, and you don't really get a driving feeling for the car, But if you don't care about that, then it's actually a very interesting offer for the price. What do you think? Tell me in the comments, and now join in to some competitors.